Oh shit. Something's wrong with
my
Discord.
God. What? Are you streaming?
Yeah, I'm streaming. There. Okay. I had the wrong audio device selected in Discord and you were all like distorted and shit. It was kind of scary.
Oh. Do you know what else is scary?
What?
Gin and banana juice.
That does sound really scary.
I ran out of cranberry juice. This is vile, dude. The banana doesn't change the way that the gin hits you at all. The cranberry does.
Right.
It smooths it out. The banana stuff is just like, dear God.
I'm going to die if I keep drinking this.
Yeah, or it's kind of like taking shots of gin and then also having a banana next to you. That's gonna help.
Right.
So, there were people today who were asking about coaching, and every time someone says that, and I hadn't coached you yet, I was like, ah.
Yeah, we keep missing each other as far as scheduling
you're very
goes.
gracious with it, because technically you're entitled to hassle me with the Patreon. So.
Well, yeah. I try not to be that much of a pain in the ass about it.
I try not to be that guy.
Well, I figure we can always catch up.
Yeah. I feel better after today, so I don't know how much of stream you saw, but I won like the first 7 games in a row. I think I have a better sense of what CVT is now, because this is a different beast.
Yeah, I think I've got a handle on the battlecruiser build, but you know, since we're talking about ZVT, I've got a Lost versus Cyclone Hellbat Banshee build that was really puzzling for me.
Yeah, I can almost hear Juno saying cancer when you describe that.
Yes. Pass me lead.
You have it.
Oh, perfect. Can you still not hear Neuro, Whiskery Ant?
If you can't hear me, you might double check what your desktop audio device is set to in OBS.
Yeah.
So if I go to that and I go to properties, it's set to device headphones.
Right. He says you're just really quiet, so I guess I just need to turn you up some.
Neuro, please scream into the microphone.
Alright, that's as loud as as it gets. I've got cranked. Oops. Fuck. I forgot to give you host.
Okay. I was going to open up an email to type up notes for you, and I got a inquiry through the website how to remove the toxins from my body.
Oh.
So if you need help with that, I can give you their contact information. Chestnuts.zerg is the right email.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You could probably 2x.
Okay.
So how are you playing ZBT right now?
I'm using the Clash opener, however that's pronounced. So it's like 16 hatch, 18 gas, 17 pull, 27 hatch. You get your third hatch before your third overlord.
Yeah. It's a good build.
It is a very good build.
The only thing that throws a wrench in it is when they patrol an SCV.
Mm-hmm.
Third you want to take.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. Maybe like 1 out of 10 ZVTs.
Yeah. Are you going roaches or banes to defend the pickbats early?
Bane lanes. I actually thought this was a 2-1-1. when I scouted with my overlords, so I kind of prepared for that, and then, oh, there were Hellions in my base, but they were really late.
Oh, in general, pause for a second.
Okay.
If a first Marine shoots your poor first overlord, it's not 2-on-1.
How does 27 Hatch fare against early Marine pushes? Like proxy Rex? I wouldn't take the third hatchery against a proxy Rex or anything like that.
You would know before then.
Yeah.
You would have bunkers at your natural.
Usually the bunkers go down just as the drone is heading to the third, so
it actually ends up being really good for identifying proxy because oftentimes the proxy is there.
Mm-hmm.
So that build causes you to discover it even faster than you would otherwise. And if you have a brain within your skull, you would just not.
Right. You don't take the third and you just spam lings and queens and shit. You meant a 2-base Marine tank timing? I think you can pretty much hold any 2-base Terran build off of 3 bases.
60 drones, if you want a precise number.
Yep.
With 4 gases of Ling Bane Queen. But yeah, with the opening, so you get information when the Marine shoots your Overlord.
Okay.
And what this says is, I'm not going 2-on-1. That's basically all this says. The reason you can infer that is because 2-on-1 is on the clock to hit 16 Marines.
Right.
So if they want 16 Marines, that's an even number. They want to postpone their Marine production until their reactor is done.
Oh.
So anytime you have your first Overlord under fire, you can say it's a Hellion opening. If it's not a Hellion opening, I don't really know what to say. But you're ahead. You're ahead. If it's not a Hellion opening and they used a Marine to shoot the Overlord, you're fine. So basically what you would prepare for is, I want to have a gas unit to defend a Hellion or Hellbat opening, and then I can drone freely behind that. And basically, this is the decision tree that I've been having, is I want to get a ton of queens out and a ton of drones. I want to have 10 lings to catch Hellions diving my worker line of the natural. And I want to have the option of making Banes if they make Hellbat. And I want to have enough queens and a spore to deal with battle cruisers. And if I have all that, I can basically drone my 3 bases for mineral saturation and then check to see if it's bio or mech.
Right.
That's kind of my early game mindset is Queenling Bane, and then I'm good against their harass. And then with the Overlord speed, Overseer Scout, I can see everything. I know if it's mech or bio, and then I'm really confident in the mid.
That makes sense.
Yeah. First Marine is a Hellion opening.
Cool. Well, that today I learned.
Yeah.
Should I resume?
Go.
All right.
And then it's like a 340 to 352 Bane.
Yeah.
I think spores. A lot of times you already know, but it's nice to again.
Yeah, I think my Bane Nests and Spores end up being a little bit late, but it doesn't matter because their attack hits late.
I saw this on Lambo's stream. I don't know if you know this, but the first battle cruiser is around 6 minutes in.
It's around
the
what?
Battle cruiser build. 6 minutes.
6 minutes? Yeah.
Yep.
That sounds about right. So I think I saw the add-on, the abandoned tech lab, and thought there was a barracks on it, and that's why I thought this was 2-1-1.
Who is the queen in your main? We missed her for a little bit.
Did we?
Yeah. There was a little bit of downtime. That's a
major
it's not
no-no.
as bad as I saw before, but yeah.
This is a little bit sloppy.
No, that's fine. I think you lost maybe 5 drones, and they lost 7 Hellions, 6 or 7. That was overall good for you.
Yeah, the worker count's still favorable for me, so that's good.
Pause for a second.
Oh.
I want to talk about a mechanics thing.
Okay.
So, Liberator harass. A Liberator comes into your main base and they point their circle at your worker line.
Right.
That's like a yikes, I have to deal with that. I don't want to lose workers. How often do you use the idle drone function?
Not very often. I don't
Because
usually
what I
have
do-
idle drones.
Okay, that's something that I would recommend you work in. It has a lot of utility. I talked about it in the bronze to GM for your third base.
Okay.
Because sometimes you hide the drone, like in the corner,
Mm-hmm.
and then if the Reaper pokes your front, you say, okay, it's safe to take my 27 hatch.
Oh, okay.
You can press that button, and it selects the drone, and you can double tap it, and it shows you the drone, and then you can just take your third base. So that saves you some camera time.
Okay.
In addition to that, the way that I respond to Liberator Harass is the Liberator comes into the main,
Mm-hmm.
and my Queen and my Spore can contest that, but sometimes you do have to pull your drones.
Mm-hmm.
Just pull your drones directly to the side, like out of the circle in your main base, and then move your Spore, push the Liberator away. You can hold control and
Mhm.
then hit the idle worker button,
Mm-hmm.
and it selects all idle workers in the game at the time, and then just right click your base, and you go back to mining. Because what happened here is you pulled the entire base of saturation down to this location.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for them to resume mining, they have to pump it out back to the main base, which costs more time
Right.
to resaturate that base. So that change in your mechanics would save you, I don't know, maybe 100 to 200 minerals every time that happens.
That makes
just by
sense.
virtue of time. Yeah. Because it's the same exercise. The drones can mine from the natural, but they're also competing with the drones
That are already
mining
there.
for the mining time.
Mhm.
Yeah. Which is really inefficient. So just throw them to the side, get them out of the circle, and then push the Liberator away. Use the control plus idle worker button, and then send it back.
Okay. Go.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. Oh my god. Do you know what destroys cyclones?
What?
Roach Ravager. It's kind of alarming. Because the cyclones deal really high damage to armored units,
Mm-hmm.
but Ravagers, they come online a lot faster than Hydras do.
Right.
So on paper, you would say Hydras are better, like in Cyclones, than Ravagers are. But a lot of times, pause for a second, the
Okay.
mindset of a Cyclone Hellion player
Mhm.
is they want to go to your side of the map and give you a bad time while they trade out their Hellions and they keep their Cyclones intact. And then they run their happy ass back home with the Cyclones and they add some Hellions and then they come attack you again and now with more Cyclones.
Right.
So the difference is between Roach Ravager and Roach Hydra. With Roach Ravager, the Roaches counter the Hellions
Mhm.
really hardcore. And then the Ravagers can drop Corrosive Biles so the Cyclones can't just sit and channel their super high damage thing. So they have to run back home and they don't get the same like freedom of I'm trading my Hellions, I retreat with my Cyclones. The Ravagers don't need a speed upgrade like the Hydras do to punish them. So if they
Okay.
overextend, a Roach Ravager army can say, you're dead now. Whereas a Roach Hydra army can only say, well, I'm going to sit on the ropes here and you can't kill me. So I would probably say if you're identifying, okay, it's a Cyclone mech player,
Mm-hmm.
with your setup right now, you have an awesome economy, but you're really far by time from hitting your Hydra double upgrade, where you have the range and the speed.
Right.
Whereas, as soon as you have a Roach Warren down, you can start making Ravagers as soon as you have Roaches live. So that interaction happens a lot faster, and that gives you map control of the center of the map, where you can be pressuring them, and that forces a tank switch out of them, which
Right.
means you can move into Hydra Viper or Swarm Host. So that's a little
Mhm.
kind of mindset thing of you see cyclones, you think, okay, I can do a Roach Ravager maxed out, and then they have to adjust.
That makes sense. I think it's kind of a scouting fail here on my part too, because I still haven't fully identified what they're doing. Pardon me.
Yeah, I like going for the Overlord Speed Overseer Scout as soon as I identify that it's not going to be 2-1-1, just to find out exactly what it is, because the patch buffed a whole bunch of different builds.
Right.
And you don't really know what it is until you see what it is. So that'll tell you whether it's the fast mech, which is the Cyclone Hellion, or the slow mech, which is the Hellion Tank Thor.
Guess we can probably slow this down now. Not having anti-air here really hurts.
Yeah, this is a growing pains situation because you have a lot of more detection denial styles with the Cyclone coming out, where they go Cyclones and Banshees or Cyclones and Mines, where the objective of the Cyclones is to kill all the Overseers, and then 2 Banshees will kill your entire army, which is very sad.
Yeah. And missed transfuses really suck too, so... Yeah, that was a sad moment. I killed their 3rd though, so that felt pretty good.
Yeah. But the Inject Queens... Oh no, Queen's attacking rocks. My heart. I'm sad.
I know, right?
Okay. You get another friendly reminder. Disciplined Inject Queens.
Yeah, I know.
Scarlett Johansson, Beyonce, and Jennifer Lopez. Come on, dude.
The lack of Hydra speed is really hurting me here too.
Yeah. Well, you can imagine just having a Roach Ravage army instead.
Right.
And how that's a lot more beefy and scary for them to deal with.
And this Widow Mine gets a lot of free kills too. Yeah, this is just a sad game all around.
So this map, if you think about it in terms of establishing your economy and your presence, Ling Bane Hydra is technically a better composition than Roach Ravager, but Roach Ravager can establish control of this location faster, which means you can take this location faster, the gold base, which means you can make swarm hosts faster. And then if you look at the distance between that gold base and this base, this is a really nice swarm host situation. And I know that you're good at swarm hosts because I died to your swarm hosts twice. That's Protoss.
I did feel a little guilty for that.
Why? I was proud of you. I wasn't even mad.
I don't know. It's kind of a mean style to do to somebody you know is sleep deprived.
I don't think so. I didn't take it that way at all. Should I be upset?
Nah.
I'm offended now. I wasn't offended before, but now that you tell me I should be offended, I'm offended. No, that was the good stuff. But yeah, you want to think about the distance between yourself and the opponent, and the closer you are, the better the swarm host is. And what you do is you establish a bunch of creep presence where the swarm hosts want to stage their attacks, and then you just sit your army there. Every time you throw the locust wave, your army kind of moves forward. But yeah, the Roach Warren means you have a cheaper way of establishing your 170 supply of army plus workers, and you have a better assessment of whether you can go Swarm Host or whether you should go Roach Hydra Viper.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. I like this 7 Overseer style. That's good.
I think I just boxed a bunch of Overlords and held down the Overseer key. He's kind of panicked.
That's fair.
Gosh, they just kill stuff so fast.
I know. I'm upset just watching this. You don't have to tell me.
My jimmies are so rustled.
I can't even watch. Look away, Neuro. Something bad is about to happen. Oh, pause for a second. Overseer management. This should help you a lot with this current meta. So, in the case where they start hitting you with the detection memes, you want to move. What I do is I put my overseers on my lurker hotkey. Even if I don't have lurkers, I put them on my lurker hotkey to steal them from my main army, and I tell them to follow a Hydra. Because you just saw what happened. Overseers are faster than Hydras. You attack move the Terran army, which you can technically beat, and the Overseers fly ahead. The Cyclones kill the Overseers, and then all that's left is a bunch of sad Hydras that are going to die to Banshees.
Yep.
Yeah. So, if you face detection denial, heal Overseers to new hotkey and follow Hydra. It's kind of like what you do with Vipers, where Vipers follow a Hydra across the map. Yep, there you go. That's a tip.
Just a tip.
Just a tip.
Go.
Yep.
Alrighty. I feel like maybe Infestors would have been a better choice than Vipers against this unit comp.
No, I don't know. It's a snowball-y kind of style, where, like I said, if you get the Roach Ravager, then they can't really bully you and trade out the Hellions as freely. And it doesn't quite feel as strong. They get forced into tanks faster. I think that's really the best part of Roach Ravager, is you get to force them to make something other than Cyclone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I try not to balance wine, but the thing that makes me upset about the unit is that it is totally independent of upgrades. So its damage is a spell, it's not an auto attack, which means these builds just take the armor upgrade instead of the attack and the armor upgrade, but it hits really hard. So it's kind of like, why do you get such a high damage unit with no attack upgrade?
Yeah. Yeah, that rustles my jimmies a little bit too, but I don't know. This is kind of the first time I've played against this build since the patch, so before it wasn't all that good, and now it's like, ugh, this is really gross to play against.
Yeah, it's a weird style because normally you're trying to make an army that just represents its damage mitigation and damage well, and when it gets into a fight, it trades favorably if both people are face to face. Whereas this is basically like the Corsair DT of Terran, where it's not even that good in a straight up fight. It's totally reliant on the invisibility mechanics in the game of Widow Mines and Banshees. And if they attack moved into you and you attack moved into them, they lose every single time. But if they kill your detection, then your army can't attack anything.
Yeah, I think that's what's so frustrating about this style is, you know that you win in a straight up fight, you just can't force them into a straight up fight.
Yeah.
Or you have a hard time forcing them into a straight up fight.
I think I would recommend Burrow for you, especially because you tend to have a really big bank. Relative to other people I coach, it's less of an issue of can I max out and spend my money? It's more of like, what aspects of macro am I missing? Because you have 70 plus workers for the majority of this game, but the amount of time annoyance of building one lane to put here burrowed and one lane to put there burrowed, you can deny a base even against a GM player for sometimes up to 4 minutes just from one burrowed unit.
Yeah, I believe that.
Which, that really reduces their ability to remax, which is the strength of Zerg. So I think we're kind of at a stage in your macro development where you've gotten up the queen count like we've talked about, your creep spread is good, your worker count is really good, you're getting max pretty fast, and with your bank, burrow is kind of the next step of... It maybe takes, what, 10 to 20 seconds to send 6 flings around and burrow at all their potential bases.
Right.
So let's say if you're feeling A game, take burrow when you move out for a 170 plus supply attack, and put one lane at each potential expo. Sweet.
Yeah.
Roach Ravager to establish control of the mid game so they don't snow the ball so hard.
Yeah. I mean, it felt like I still could have won if I just executed better, but I think you're right that Roach Ravager would have been an easier way to get there.
Maybe you still could have won, but the Cyclone kind of feels like a critical mass unit. And they had a lot of them, so when I look at that army, I don't really know. I don't know what you should make. It's kind of nasty.
Right. Now, I kind of wanted to go over our game from last night, if that's okay.
Sure.
Because I felt like I was kind of in an even position, maybe even a little bit ahead, and then I got wrecked.
Oh, the ZPC.
Yeah, I don't...
Yeah, your Ling Bane was good. I think the subtlety aspect that is the difference between Master and GM is a lot of times someone just sneaks in an inject cycle of drone. And they put the Roach Warren down. And that means that they can still box with the Ling Bane, but they also have the next follow-up. So, I don't remember, we'll see it, but I think you killed my third. Or something happened where it looked like you got a clear advantage, but I think I was sitting on more drones at my second base.
Right. Yeah, what you said about, like, kind of macroing behind the Ling Bane and setting up your next step in your progression, it's something I've been working on in ZVZ, and I feel pretty comfortable in the matchup overall, but I don't often play opponents this good, so I thought this would be a really good game to look at. So I don't normally get stressed this hard in ZVZ.
Yeah. Don't remember who I was talking. I think it was during the Bronze GM. If the Ling Bane versus Ling Bane stage has a super high skill ceiling, and a lot of times someone can just either kill you or mortally wound you during that phase, and it's not always a death by destruction of your base. It can be... I think this game might be a case where I traded kind of evenly with you, but I also made drones. So you ended up sort of being limping into the Roach stage, but not because you took too much damage, but because I snuck in economy in the meantime.
This was really annoying.
What, the Ling pressure at the third?
Yeah, because I think I ended up having to cancel the third because all of my Lings were on your side of the map scouting or something, or I didn't have any.
What I would say mindset-wise in ZVZ is this is kind of like it's kind of like playing chicken in a way, where you see I have a third, and I see you have a third, and this is kind of a test of bravado, of who is more willing to lean forward into the opponent and force the issue on their side of the map.
Right.
Because mechanically, it's harder to defend than it is to attack. So what I'm saying by doing this is, I know enough about your build that I'm going to choose to put pressure on you.
Mm-hmm.
What you did was you passively scouted me, where you ran your links around my base,
Mm-hmm.
which that's something. Like, you get to see, do I have an Evo chamber? Do I have a Bane nest? But my mindset here is, I'm putting lings on your third, and I have a Bane nest next, and I'm going to make some Ling Bane, and if you don't make Banes, you're losing your third Bane. So I'm dictating the flow of the match by virtue of creating a point of contention by attacking your base.
And that's usually
You
my
scouted me.
mindset in the matchup.
Yeah, I would say you should do that even if it's a higher level player than yourself. Like, if you queue into a GM, that's still a point of contention. This is still a point of contention that you could pressure. If you attack it, then that means I can't make as many drones at home. I want to make some lings to defend that. And it becomes more of an even situation. Whereas here, it's like, okay, I'm attacking this space, it's getting low, which means I have a better chance of killing it if I make more units, and you're playing on my terms instead of me playing on your terms, or at least on even.
Absolutely.
Uh-oh. Oh, died to the supply block. That's a thing. ZBZ. Lings pressure your third. Don't forget 30 Overlord.
The
way that I
36
order
supply
it-
block is very common for me.
Yeah, the way that I order it is I go 30 expand. This is on a big map against someone who I saw go hatch first. 30 expand, and then Bane Nest. 30 Bane Nest, 30 Overlord. In that order.
Yeah, that
Because
sounds...
the Zergling is the main pusher in terms of getting map control. The Baneling adds some spice to your stew, but the third base is how you get ahead.
Right.
So with that order, you're saying, I want to get ahead. I also want to assert map control, and I want to have that map control in a dangerous and varied way. Where I don't just have links, I also have Banes.
Right.
Which forces you to micro and creates different types of pressure.
Oh, here's the 2 sneaky lings I forgot about.
This is something I basically have always started doing mechanically. I didn't do it correctly this game because I was super tired. But when I make that big round of links, whenever I have around this economy, maybe 7 to 10 at the natural, you make all the links and you click one egg and you steal it to your muta group. And I put 2 mutas here while I'm pressuring this space. And the reason that it works so often is because that's a lot of lings at your third base, so it's like, shit, I have to defend my third base. I'm looking at the Ling Bane micro, trying to get good trades, all this, and all of your mindset is focused on this third base, which, rightly so, there's a big danger there.
Great.
But all I did was move command these guys here, so when there's an opening, I make Banes, and I send them in, and you can deal some really lethal damage.
Yeah, it's the old rope-a-dope.
Yeah.
Like, hey, stupid, look here. And then when they least expect it, kaboom.
Rip. Visual tactics.
I felt like my micro was pretty good.
Your micro is pretty good, but you lost the larva game. During the Bronze GM at the beginning of the 24-hour stream, I faced Livy, and my entire advantage through the game was larva. From making those Ling Bane when you have your 7 to 8 workers of the natural, I killed a queen, and then I built a queen at the same time, and I sent 1 queen to the third while having 1 queen to the natural, and I knew that at that moment I can have 3 hatches injected, and at most she has 1. So if I want to mass lings and upgraded lings, then that's my clear edge. So you should think about that too during this Ling Bane stage. Who has the larva advantage?
Right.
And how on top of that can I be? Because look at my bases. I have 3 bases, 2 of them are injected. I'll probably inject the natural at some point.
And you're way ahead in workers.
Yeah. Yeah, the larva advantage is the one that whenever I play against Jon Snow, he always takes it from me. I never get it, period. Whatever build he goes for, he always does something stupid. I lose a queen, or I lose a base. Or he gets his base faster, and I'm behind in larva. So whether we're playing Ling Bane, or we're playing roaches, or we're playing mutas, he has more larva, which means more drones, better spending, more lings, all that stuff.
Right.
So yeah, I think you're pretty successfully attacking my 3rd. But I have my 2 base power spike here of 2 base mineral, 3 gas of roach, which is pretty scary.
Yeah, for sure. I think if I'd realized just how many workers you had at your natural, I would have played this a little bit differently.
The big mistake, I think, here was making lings through the attack. Because the downside of the roach situation I have is slow roaches on a map like this give you tons of time to react. I don't know where your overlord is. You should have an overlord here. I don't know where it is.
I think you killed it.
Maybe. Yeah, it should be in this lane. Because if you look at the exit lanes, this is a lane. Good job, overlord. And this is a lane. You should at least have those 2. If someone goes this way, they should get a cross-country medal or something. That's a long way.
Yeah, no kidding.
But for those 2 paths, say you're attacking my 3rd base with the lings, and you kill it while you're droning. If you realize, crap, he's going to be sending 10 slow roaches at me, you can defend that with Ling Bane. There's enough time. It's just so slow. So these guys could have been made as a reaction if you saw me move out, rather than as a default.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So the way that Pig and, who is it, Panda Bear Me described it, is the aggressive player in ZVZ usually gets ahead. Because they're applying pressure and they're droning. But in this case, you applied pressure and you made lings, which put me ahead in the roach game.
Right.
Because once I have +1 attack roaches, your lings are effectively dead weight. They're not going to be able to do anything. I think the best choice for them, say this is the way of making the most of a bad situation, you put them here, and then when you see me cross mid-map, and you're trying to defend with roaches, then you send them into my natural. And that makes things really complicated for me, because I have to decide, am I going to go defend you, or am I going to try and press the attack and take a bunch of damage?
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, your economy is really good. I think you technically started making roaches at the right time. I mean, at the right drone amount, but if you subtracted the lings that you made, then you would have just stomped me. Because you would have had these roaches coming out way earlier, and you would have had more of them. Because I only have 33, and you made another 20 ling, which is 10 larvae.
Right.
So say you had 31 roaches right here. I don't think I break you if you have your roaches set up in a concave.
Right.
At this position. Sweet. So you did counter, which is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the sad thing is, with the +1 ranged roach upgrade, even the reinforcement roaches can defend it pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Yeah. I think we're effectively dead here from your position.
Right.
You did steal 5 roaches and an overseer, which is good.
Yeah, I think the procedure was correct, just the numbers are not in my favor. It's a math problem.
Yeah. We'll say GG Rip, we have 40 workers against 50.
Yeah.
But yeah, larva. If you're in Z, fighting for the larva advantage is one of the biggest, most powerful edges you can command.
Okay.
So if you can snipe a queen, say you, in the fray of the Lingbane stuff, you put 6 lings on a queen and you kill it, that's a larva advantage, so you should focus on your injects and really extending that.
Okay.
It's one of the more obvious ones. Like in ZVT and ZVP, you should obviously be injecting your bases, but in ZVZ, if you're scouting with your lings and your overseers, you get a more visual assessment of the difference in production because it's the exact same mechanic.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That clears up some of my confusion. So this is a 2-base Tempest into Sky Toss bullshit. I don't... This is the only map where I really have trouble against Sky Toss builds.
I don't know if I exported the video. I did a guide on beating 2-base Tempest.
Mm-hmm.
The tricky thing about it is you usually counter it with Roach Lane, which is counterintuitive, but they tend to make a Phoenix first. We'll see what this person does. But if they make a Phoenix first, Protoss can always create a situation where you're effectively in the dark, and you have no idea what their gas spending is going to be until they suddenly just shoot out on the map with some random shit.
Yup.
So my mindset in ZVP is if they focus on denying my scouting, I'm going to have Lair, Roach Speed, and a bunch of Roach Ling with around 50 to 60 drones. And if the Roaches can't fight what they send, I attack them. That's the really simple version of what my early game plan is. Because they open Stalker, which says, I don't want you to see what I'm about to do. Okay, fine. So I'm going to drone my 3 bases, make sure everything is well injected, and I'm going to get 2 gases at my natural. I talked with Loco about this. I don't know if I talked to you about it. But the way that I manage my saturation is I refill my gas in the main at 330.
Right.
When do you do that? Same?
Yeah, about the same. I just rally 2 drones from the first inject on the main into the gas. So that's okay. I think that works out to around 330.
Cool. That should be fine. But then when my natural hits 19 to 20, I take 2 gases. So I can make a bunch of roaches. And part of the advantage of taking 2 gases is you have less transfer between your second and third bases. Because every time you transfer a drone, you give an opening to an oracle or 2 oracles, or they can just zoom in and gun them down as they're being transferred. Whereas by taking the saturation here, there's only transfer between the main and the natural. The third is going to the third, and the 2 bases are going to the natural. So it's a little bit safer. You have less of a opening to oracle pressure.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last time. It makes sense. And that's basically what I'm doing here, I think. I think I delayed the 3rd gas a little bit. Just by mistake. Unlike ZVT, you can't really do a whole lot with just 2 gases in ZVP.
Yeah. Thanks, Archon Prison Harass.
Right.
Okay, so you have the correct economy. You have your roachling. I need to sneeze. Okay. Microphone mute, micro. All right. You have a good setup here, I think. You have queens, you have roachling, and the Tempest, they should always surprise you.
Right.
Especially on this map. I would say this build is horrible on this map. This is a stasis build.
Yeah.
But as soon as the Tempest shoots you, the roaches get incredibly angry and they go attack immediately. And you don't attack here at the third. You attack at the natural. Because Tempests are super expensive for gas, and the main things that would deter you from attacking with Roachling are Immortal Sentry, which it's physically impossible for them to have 3 Tempests right now, and also have Immortal Sentry. So the Roachling should be a pretty big pain in the butt to the Protoss, and that's your focus. And you drop a Spire immediately behind it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Hydras, yes, they can trade against Tempests if the Tempests voluntarily die to the Hydras, but Protoss has to be stupid for that to work. So that's not a reliable solution.
Yeah.
Corruptors are faster than Tempests, so you say, okay, I respect the intelligence of you as Protoss. You probably watch Rick and Morty a lot or something. So I'm gonna make a Spire, and I'm gonna have some Corruptors. I don't really need an upgrade because Tempests like this are really expensive. They're kind of all in on it. So you just need enough Corruptors to beat the Tempests, and then you're going to need some ground to beat whatever ground you have.
Whatever bullshit, yeah.
Yeah, so the problem is the roaches are like, oh, Tempest. There we go. That's the right idea. So where do we attack? The natural. Fine. And we have a Hydra Den. We'll say that's a Spire. Spire is better.
So what you're saying is I should have kept attacking the natural.
Yeah, because they don't have force fields. So as soon as you kill the Adept, you can punch in. The Adept can only live as long as the shield battery has energy. Once the shield battery is out of energy, the Adept is dead. And then you raid and plunder like fire, where you put half your roaches here, and you put half your roaches there. And through this, you're droning. You're droning your third really hard with 2 gas and a 4th base. So that's the difference here, is you're making lings to reinforce this push, but this map is so big that these lings that are joining the roaches, they're not really going to change anything. Maybe they kill a pylon or something.
Right.
But that's about it. But if you took the 2 gases at the third, then you can make 10 Corruptors, and you basically win the game. So the roaches are to trade themselves out and wound the Protoss to give yourself space to make the Corruptors to dominate the air, and then you can go back to ground.
Okay.
ZVP is a puzzle. Natural advance with Tempest. Fire behind the Tempest. While droning on third. During the Roach attack. This Tempest build is very all-in. I don't know if you're paying attention to the other units the Protoss has. They have 2 Void Rays and a Stalker, 1 Adept, and 8 Zealots. So you can kind of imagine if you had 10 Corruptors and a bunch of Roaches, you just win. This Protoss has no idea how to spend money at all. It's kind of amazing. Wow.
Yeah, it's really aggravating to lose to a player like this. I'm pretty
It's
sure
kind of
this is one of
surprising.
the Protosses that BMs me when they win, so...
Yeah, it's kind of surprising how mediocre Hydras are against Tempests.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's mainly due to the range disparity and also the different locations on the map the Tempest can use defensively.
Right.
To just keep taking shots at the Hydras and chip away at them. Because the Hydra is kind of saying, I hope you choose to fight me. Because if they don't, then they can just kill like 1 or 2 Hydras per volley whenever you're attacking them, and you're eventually going to run out of steam, and you have to retreat and attack again. Yeah, like this.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, if they A-moved you, you would win, but they won't, so you have to go back home and rethink your life.
Yep.
So your target composition versus Tempest is Roach, Wing, Corruptor. Where the real heroes are the Roachling. The Corruptor is just a way of saying you don't have air control. I have air control. But you don't want to make that many. You just want to make enough to dominate the air, and then you want to focus on the ground, because the ground is always weak with the Tempest style.
Mm-hmm.
They can't afford Immortals and High Templar. They have to basically pick one, which gives you the flexibility. They took +2 attack and Tempest. Amazing. I'm amazed. The world's displays.
Usually you do single Evo in CVP, but I did double because I'm bad.
No, double Evo is fine on this map. I wouldn't say that that's a problem.
Okay.
I think it's the lack of Corruptor that's the problem.
Yeah.
Some Protosses were joking about it. It kind of feels like one Corruptor beats one Tempest in a fight. It's not quite that bad, but it's pretty close, because the Tempest got less health, and it is still slower than a Corruptor. So
right.
Maybe 2 or 3 Corruptors and 1 Tempest meet, the Corruptors are going to win really decisively, and the Protoss can't do anything about it. So by economy management, if you're making Corruptors, they should switch to Void Rays as fast as they can. And Void Rays are worse units than Tempest.
Yeah, for sure.
They're tier 2 and they're reliant on their super beam, prismatic alignment.
Air Carapace? What?
Who, them? Or you?
Someone's asking me, just asked Air Carapace in chat, and I have no idea what they're asking.
Oh, well, in the Corruptor versus Tempest, like the 2-base relationship, upgrades are basically worthless. And the reason is because the number of units is so low, and the firing rate of Tempest is so low, that you only get paid off for an armor upgrade every time a Tempest shoots you. And Tempests have a slow firing rate.
Mm-hmm.
And with this build, they're only going to have like 2 to 5. So you would prefer to have another 2 or 3 Corruptors of gas to kill the Tempests and stop them from making Tempests.
Right.
Than to have more armor. The armor upgrade is against carriers, because carriers have 8 little babies inside of them that all shoot you. And every time an interceptor shoots you, they pay you for your armor upgrade.
Right.
Whereas a Tempest has to power up their big blue sphere of doom, and then they throw it at you, and then they have to power up their blue sphere of doom. You get the idea. Protoss, what a race.
Right.
ZVP is pretty similar. I got very upset the first time I lost a 2-base Tempest, but Disc is a very nice man. And he could tell that I was tilted after it, so he told me how to beat it. Yeah, I think you're supposed to use Queen's Spore to buy time for Corruptors.
Mm-hmm.
And attack me with Roachling. Okay, thanks. No, I'm a little bit less upset. Ooh, it's this one.
Mm-hmm.
Did you 15 hatch?
No, I did not.
Oh man, this map. So this map is like, if you list the ladder maps for this season, you have the maps that are obviously 15 hatch maps like Blue Shift, and the maps that are 16 hatch like Parasite. And then there's this map. This motherfucker is, if you stack your drones perfectly at the beginning, where all the close patches get 2, and all the far ones get saturated after that, you can 16 hatch before the probe, but it has to be absolutely pristine.
Right.
If it isn't, then they block your 16 hatch, and you're trying to expand, but your desk is flipped over because you're so mad.
Right.
Yeah.
And this opponent, I've played this opponent enough to know that they always try to block the hatch, so I should know, like, anytime I see this person that I need to 15 hatch, because they will go to absurd lengths to block a 16 hatch.
Yeah.
They're one of
Well,
those.
the plus side is, if you 15 hatch, and when the hatch is done, you see the probe there right after it, you know it's not a cannon rush. So that's a good thing to mentally consider. You don't have to send a worker down. You're basically fine. 15 hatch is a little bit less economical, but do you know what really sucks? Having to take your natural here.
Yep.
It's annoying.
If it doesn't bother Cyril, it shouldn't bother me, though.
No, it bothers me. I talked with the chat about that a little bit, because Stats versus Cyril, he does that all the time. But his grasp of mechanics is way above ours. So for us to adjust to using our third base camera, or deciding, is this my second base camera, and this is my third base camera, that it just...
Right. That makes sense.
Pig and Juno describe it as, you're trying to make things easy on yourself. Rather than, oh yeah, Cyril could do this. Well, I'm not Cyril, Juno is not Cyril, you're not Cyril, and neither is Pig. So we want stability in our opening build. We want something that's reliable and consistent and steady, rather than having 50 more minerals.
Right.
Natural that's way over here. It's like, ugh. Because we've lost 3 workers to the first steps. So we want a lair and a roach warren. We want a lair and a roach warren.
I'm getting there, I'm getting there. Slowly.
I believe every day is a good day when you paint. He's got it! Okay. Oh no.
I'm all discombobulated, I know.
It's a proxy gateway zealot with +1 weapons.
Yeah, he
Only
always
God
does
can
something
help
like
us
this.
Oh my god. I'm upset watching this happen. How many lings did you make? Hey, hang on. Hang on. You have 9. Did you make more?
I
That's my
did,
question.
because I
Oh no.
didn't have a roach warren on time. And I saw the 2 adepts move out. I thought there were more than 2 adepts, so I just kind of panicked and made whatever units I could.
Do you know what you should make if your roach warren is late?
What?
Overlord. Because you see, you need to make 2 more overlords here anyway. So instead of making 2 or 3, you make 4 to 6. And then you have tons of room for activities. Your gas is built up. And then you make Queen Roach.
Okay.
So this is a assessment that applies to both the CVZ and the CVP is when you're moving from the beginning of the map, which is the most stable and consistent state, it's always the same, to the 5-minute mark, how have my injects been? Because if your injects have been good, making lings like that would be fine. But in this case, you were chasing adepts with queens for a while, which means your injects are not great. So Roach is going to be a much more attractive option than Ling.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really afford to do both. So think about it. Roaches.
I think all things considered, this part goes as well as I could possibly have hoped.
Yeah, it was a very half-assed attack. 5 gateway plus 1 zealot. This is a new build. No one has ever seen this before. Because it doesn't make sense. I killed it. Ooh. How often do you go Spire against Protoss?
Not very often anymore.
Because we're in a new meta now. I don't know if you noticed Colossus in the matchup. It's back.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, every so often.
Let's just take an assessment. How many mutas would it take to beat this Protoss army?
Not very many. They only have like 5 stalkers here.
Yeah. Who did I beat doing this? It was Gosu PvP in the tournament that we both played in.
Mm-hmm.
So we were playing on Yansu, and he went for disruptor drops against me. So I knew he had a Robo Bay, which means he's really committed to the robotics facility and robotics bay.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a Spire and a bunch of Roach Ling, and he attacked me, and instead of me being like, I need to base race with mutas, I just knew I had enough gas in mutas, and he had enough gas in robotics that I could win the fight. So this is kind of a similar meme, where the only things that are truly frightening for a muta player are storms that you sit in, or a bunch of phoenixes, or a bunch of archons with upgrades, or maybe like 30 stalkers with blink.
Mm-hmm.
This has none of those. You send like 15 mutas to this, and they will surrender faster than you can say Kansas City. It's amazing.
That does sound pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's kind of weird too, because I think part of it is because mutas have been out of the meta because of what Protoss had been doing with Archon drops and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if they open with something that is heavy on Robo, and they have a second Robo, and they have a Twilight, like, where is their gas going to counter mutas? It's kind of like they forgot that mutas exist. But that would be something to mix in. If you ever do an Overseer Scout kind of early and you see 2 Robo, try muta. It's pretty strong.
That's good to know.
Yeah. You can just go melee Roach Ling, and maybe mix in a couple Ravagers, but then have a big Mutaflaw. You do want to wait a little bit to reveal it. You wouldn't want to show 5 mutas, but if you get like 10 to 14, that's a good time to explode out.
Yeah, for sure. And they go triple Stargate for some reason into Phoenix.
Hmm. Do you have a Hydrogen? Did it die?
No, I don't think I have it yet.
What I've started doing is I just build 4 Hydras, and then off a hotkey I just rally them here.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it saves you a lot of time. Because the Prism in the main thing is something the Protoss should always try to do. and it's a question of did you invest enough to defend that? And you're also thinking about the game state of how many times in a ZVP was there a fight here where if you had 4 more Hydras you would have won. It's pretty rare, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So the 4 Hydras up here is like this huge pain in the ass no longer exists, which means you can focus a lot more on dodging storms and doing multi-prong, maybe adding a drop in and stuff, and the match is played more on your terms, where yes, your army is 4 Hydras weaker, but a
That
side
doesn't
storm
really
is going to
matter.
kill like 15 Hydras. So
Right.
you would prefer stability over 4 Hydras of DPS.
For sure.
Roach Ravager. With the zealots.
I'm not getting the best value out of the swarm hosts either, which is really unfortunate.
Which game was I casting? I think it was Strophium. If it's after, like, 7 minutes, stop making roaches in ZVP. Just do something else. Anything. Lings, Banes, Hydras, Mutas, Corruptors, more Swarm Hosts, Queens. Anything. Just, no. They don't scale well with upgrades because their attack speed is pretty slow. And Ravagers are also a pretty niche unit, where in the force field stage they're really strong, but when the force field stage is over, they're like paper for Archon. Archons are like, lol, I attacked you 1 time and it died. The Ravager is just, it can't even be sad because it's dead. So yeah, Roaches, they have their time to shine. If a Protoss messes up like 2 or 3 times in the early game, say you take your expansion at a good time, it doesn't get blocked by the probe, they try to shade 2 Adepts, and you have 10 links and you kill them, and they send in an Oracle, and it doesn't do shit, and you have your 50 drones in roach speed, you can often just kill them with speed roaches. That's a big timing window in CVP. But after that, the time of the roaches is over. It's like time for the orcs or something, I don't even know. But it's not roaches. Your swarm hosts have done a good job, but your bases are dead.
Yep.
Thanks, DGs. I like this, these overlords. This is a nice visual.
I don't know how that happened, but it's
wanted
performance
supply.
art.
And I didn't want to die to Phoenixes, so this happened.
Right. Yeah, that was the lion's share of everything. I had one more replay against a Sky Toss, but we kind of went, I don't know, this is a little bit different.
I think with the... Yeah, we can do this. Yeah, I think with your awareness of the speed roach power spike, you can kill a lot of people. Actually, can I show you one game? Just to show you what this,
Yeah, absolutely.
this thing is? Because I think that you should deserve to know how to kill people who mess up, rather than just to be kind of stuck in your macro game.
Yeah.
Which it's good to macro, but it's also good to know how to punish someone.
Yeah, I don't have a good killer instinct.
Give me the leader.
Oh, duh. Promote to leader. There you go.
I know exactly which game it is because this guy has died to it 4 times in a row.
Oh, hey, it's this dickhead.
You play him too?
Yeah. Is
I
he
think he's between us.
is he BM as fuck to you too?
He did pause in the middle of a game and he unpaused without asking.
Like, I played him 3 times last night, and the first game we played, he was just like, fuck you, as soon as the game started. I'm like, have we met?
Is that how you say hello in your country?
Right. And we played 3 times, and I beat him 2 times, so he was very, very salty with me.
Okay, so I got my base down.
Mm-hmm.
This is my mindset. 20 Overlord. 2 Queens, 4 Lings. And I have an opportunity to kill the probe, but I don't want to chase the probe. So I go to the 3rd. Okay. Probe runs away. Take my 3rd. Drone up a little bit. I get my 31 Overlord. And then I go up to 10 Lings. 10 Lings is a nice amount because that gives you a really decisive kill of 2 Adept.
Mm-hmm.
8 Lings means you can beat 2 Adepts easily on creep, but 10 means you can kill them easily off creep. So I like having 10.
Yeah, I do too.
So I have the 10 Lings. He runs home with his Adept. I put my Overlord on hold position at the Stargate so I can see him making a 2nd unit. And then this is your first big opportunity. So I'm going to mark this in your notes.
Okay.
Ling speed, 10 Lings. 10 Lings bump wall while droning and making Overlords. Because in ZVP, the Protoss has the first opportunity with the probe block. That's their first chance to mess you up. And then the first Adept is their next opportunity to mess you up. Their second Adept is the next opportunity to mess you up. That's 3 for Protoss. They could also cannon rush you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have all this shit. But if you're stable through all that, you get your 10 Lings, and your first opportunity is 10 Lings, control the map against 2 Adepts. You can kill the probe going to the 3rd. You can kill the 2 Adepts on the map.
Mm-hmm.
You can bump the wall, and if there's a hole, you can run in and fuck them up. And the thing that I was kind of stuck at for a while was I would tunnel vision this super hard because I realized this can do a lot of stuff. Let me just stare at this.
Mm-hmm.
But what you should do is just drone the ever-loving shit out of your second base. So you're just holding down your drone button while you're doing this harassment.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm harassing the wall. I see, what? Why did that? Okay, let's kill these. And I'm droning behind this. My Roachhorn and Lair are both going. Before 4 minutes. 7 drones in production tab. I'm messing with probes. I see an Oracle. So I run away from that to a different base. And I take 2 gases and make 4 Overlords. So this is my way of coming online with the 2 base mineral, 3 gas, roach speed power spike. And my 3 bases are injected. I get my spores. I'm being annoying.
Mm-hmm.
But now I basically know I've won the game. The game is over because they had to pull their workers off saturation. They made multiple mistakes. And I have my roach speed power spike. They're going to try to harass me with Oracle. But I have my spores. My bases are all injected. So I can just spam a bunch of Roachling. And case 1, they 2 base all in me. And I have more than enough to defend. Case 2, they take a 3rd and they die. So this is what your power spike looks like for ZVP. You have 48, 55 drones, somewhere in that range.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 bases are injected. All 3 bases have spores. You have your roach speed, your flood and roaches. If this guy goes Tempest, he's fucked. If he goes Phoenixes, he's dead. If he goes Archon Prism, That's fine. Like, what's he gonna do? Kill a queen? Good job.
So it's kind of a heads I win, tails you lose kind of situation.
Yeah. But you would think about this army composition as being the most dependent on your roach timing. Because that's when you get to explode forward and have a presence on their side of the map. The range attack, that's kind of a luxury for me here, because I feel like I'm that ahead and I'm that ready to play a macro game as well. But like this push here doesn't need the +1 range. The +1 range is nice, but this guy is dead regardless.
Right.
And the reason is because I had so much stability and I dealt some damage early that I can continue to flood units, I can make drones and roaches at the same time, and he's just gonna fall over. And I don't really need to mess with this as much because I know that I have an immediate big advantage, and the third base isn't really that juicy. The natural has a bunch of really precious stuff like probes and pylons that are powering the crucial tech. The third is like denying their future prosperity. But they made mistakes early on, so I can punish their natural right now.
Yeah, that all makes sense.
Yeah. So I would say try to add in a mindset of that as well, where if the Protoss loses an adept or your base is fine, everything is really good, and you're confused about what's going on, you just get your roach speed really fast, make roaches at around 48 to 55 workers, and then go hit them and see what's up. A lot of people will just die. And if you do see Immortal Sentry, you're droning your third, you take your fourth base, you can go Hydroling Bane, or you can go your Storm Host style. In that case, you're still fine. Because the roach speed means you can retreat unpunished. There's no Protoss army that's going to chase speed roach back home and kill them. They're just too fast.
It's so glorious watching this guy get owned.
Yeah, he's actually died the same way 3 times in a row, so now you know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Yep. But walling off the natural in a solid way is pretty tough to do. So just the bump with the 10 lings can oftentimes create an opening that you didn't know existed.
Well, that's good to know.
If it's perfect and you have a stalker shield battery thing and you can't get in, that's fine. I'm droning into my power spike. Good luck defending speed roaches. Good luck with your third base, dude.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for showing me that. That's really helpful.
Protoss can be beaten. It's true.
No
way.
Yeah, I feel like my ZVP is starting to get better, so that's something. It's not in the 20s anymore.
No, I think it is better from when I've seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
Your mid game seems confident. This little display was more of a drilling of the early game.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people make a bunch of stupid mistakes, and if you don't know how to punish them, then they can get their third, they get their Templar archives, then they have Storm, and Storm is the one of the biggest comeback mechanics in the entire game for all 3 races. So you can get a little bit of an advantage, but then they have Storm, and it's like, your Hydra advantage is totally negated.
Yep.
So just because you got ahead early, it means nothing, because now I have 3 Storms per High Templar. GG.
Yep. And
so this speed... Yeah, the speed roach timing is a way of saying, I'm not going to let you get to that comeback mechanic.
Right. Yeah, because that happens depressingly often in my games.
Yeah. Just remember to drone behind it.
For sure.
Base. Sweet. Well, we got lots of notes for you. I'm glad we got to sneak the session in before I have my holiday. So I can feel less guilty on vacation. Hooray.
Well, thanks for taking the time for this. And I guess I'll probably see you streaming tomorrow, but if not, have a good holiday.
Yep, you too, dude. GG.
Oh, Tebow has a question. Why is the speed aspect such a factor? Once you're in their base, you're in, right?
It gives you a retreat option because there are Protosses who will open Immortal Sentry. And if they have that, then you will deal 0 damage. And if you attack them, you will die horribly in a ditch. So roach speed means I can run back home, I will lose no roaches, and I have a way to defend a Hydra Lurker transition, or a Bane transition, or a Spire transition. It just means you're not as exploitable.
Mm-hmm.
The speed gives you the option to be flexible. If you don't have speed and you're across the map,
You're all in.
you can't go home. Yeah. Those roaches are going to die on the opponent's side of the map, either for victory or death.
That makes
It's
sense.
similar in ZVZ, but I think it's not as obvious in ZVP that that's the purpose of roach speed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, man.
GG. Have a good night, dude.
You
Go
too.
have fun.
All right, folks. Well, I just popped back on. I actually ended the stream a couple hours ago, but I popped back on to record this for posterity. And I'll probably upload this to the YouTubes. But I'm going to go to bed now, so who can we raid?